welcome to this week's Mindset Podcast. I am joined by Joe LiBrandi today. He is the team lead of LiBrandi team out in the Long Island, New York area. Joe, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You and I doing our pre-podcast conversation, and we'll get into it because I do want you to tell a little bit about yourself and your team. We have a pretty interesting topic to go about today. And it's going to be all around the mental health, specifically around anxiety. We'll start with real estate agents, but in the whole professionals. And it seems to be a topic that I didn't realize how important it really was for a lot of professionals out there and how they do deal with anxiety in the workspace. I think that you have some pretty cool ideas about how professionals can actually deal with that. So let's first start off with a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into the real estate space and put the LiBrandi team together, because that's always a hot topic for real estate agents. How do I go from an individual agent to starting to put my team together? So tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I got involved with real estate pretty much because I have a pit bull, and she's a fully trained service dog. And I went for all different training for her. She's fully trained. I could take her anywhere. But trying to find a place to live when you have a dog is very difficult. Trying to find a place to live when you have a pit bull is almost impossible.
Probably disastrous, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was I needed to find a place to live, and I was calling up all these different real estate agents, and they would get on the phone with me. If they did even get on the phone, because it was difficult even to get somebody on the phone, they wouldn't reply to text messages, leave messages on their machine. No one was calling me back. And when they did, they'd just be, oh, this place isn't available, thank you, and hang up. And the first thing I thought of is that if I just answered the phone as a real estate agent, I'm going to kill it, because majority of real estate agents do this part-time. And I got involved with real estate. Concept. Yeah, it's very, very simple. So I just started getting involved with real estate, and then my previous background was I was a financial advisor for over 10 years. So I was that guy who gave morning meetings and trained people how to become stockbrokers. So coming into real estate, it was pretty much the same concept of how to pitch and how to speak to people. So I built up my business within the first couple of years here, and then I just created a team, and I started training people, and now I have a full team of real estate agents. I have my sister is a real estate agent as well. Phyllis does insurance and real estate. She's been doing insurance for 40 years. So we help somebody get a house. You get them get homeowners as well. And then I have my attorneys that I work with and contractors and everything else. I just built up the business.
So it sounds like over the course of the last, 20 years that you've been in the business, you've definitely accumulated quite a bit of a network around yourself to help all the home shoppers that you work with.
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good team. I haven't been a real estate agent for 20 years.
Right.
I got involved with real estate a couple of years ago. I started as a financial advisor 20 years ago. I did that for 10, 15 years. And then I wound up for different businesses and everything else. I wound up involved with real estate.
So out of curiosity, were the agents not calling you back because of having a pit bull, or was it just the standard servicing thing you did?
No, they didn't even know I didn't have a pit bull, if I had a dog or not. They just weren't calling back. Right. I couldn't even get to the point to tell them I had a dog. And that's the problem that a lot of people have with real estate agents. They don't give you that what's the word I'm looking for? Professionalism, I guess, where they're calling you back, asking you if you need any help on anything else. Maybe it's because the way they were trained, or maybe they're busy. I have no idea.
Generally, we tend to realize that most agents don't get the salesman training that they need in order to really understand how to successfully. I mean, the fact that you'll get a home shopper who calls you, says they're interested in a property, and you turn around and say, not available, thanks, bye. Just goes to show that you don't have the salesmanship to be able to take a possible buyer for not this property, but what about the other 10, 15, 20, 30 properties you saw open houses on, and be able to at the very least take them and convert them to a buyer. So we tend to see a lot of the same with your standard agent who just picks up the phone and is hoping that they're going to get 10 inbound calls today just from being on Zillow, or being on having a website, or spending marketing dollars on Google ads, and they just expect calls to come their way regardless. By the way, what's your pit bull's, your service dog's name?
Believe it or not, my dog's name is Brandy. My name is Joe LiBrandi, and I didn't name her. I was looking for a 2 to 3 year old pocket pit, and I walked in to a place, and on the cage, they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a 2 year old, 3 year old pocket pit," and on the cage was Brandy, Brandi, spelled exactly like my last name. So I said,
Wow,
Brandy LiBrandi. I'm like, I have to see this dog,
perfect.
and that was it. Match made in heaven. Great dog, and take her everywhere.
If that wasn't meant to be, I don't know what else in life
Exactly.
isn't meant to be. Um, so you have the service dog, and the service dog. I mean, why did you initially get a service dog?
I didn't. She wasn't a service dog when I got her.
Right.
I've been involved
Okay.
with. I own an animal rescue for 15 years. I own the
Wow.
New York Animal Coalition. So I just wanted to have a dog that was very obedient, that I could take anywhere, and great watchdog. So I just did all the training with it for no real specific reason. I didn't need it for any service at all. I just wanted her to be able to be a great dog, and she is.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about what seems to be a very important topic to you. And I'll let you explain it a little bit. I'll let you explain it. I'm sure you'll do a much far better job than the couple of minutes that we spoke. So tell me a little bit about this, the volunteer work that you do around anxiety for real estate agents and real estate professionals.
With the what? I'm sorry, excuse me.
Anxiety. So we spoke about anxiety.
Okay. So I've been dealing with that since I'm a kid, since kindergarten, I would say, since 5 years old. And I've always had it. But I really wasn't ever diagnosed back then. I'm not going to date myself, but back then it wasn't really diagnosed. You're just always known as like a nervous kid. I did everything. I played sports, did everything, got through life, and whole different careers and everything else. But with the anxiety, sometimes it just gets worse over time. Something could just trigger it. So the last year and a half has been very difficult with COVID and everything else. I had COVID really bad. Yeah, it was horrible. I lost 25 pounds when I had it. And when you have anxiety and you have COVID, that's a very bad combination.
Right.
So, every breath you take that you're trying to breathe, and you're going, and your heart's fluttering, you're going, oh my God, this is it. And so it was a very, very difficult time. And I think that also triggered it. Had some, my mom got sick as well. And there were a bunch of different things that honestly took it to a totally different level. The last year and a half was beyond difficult. I've had more holes poked in me from doctors with needles than I could possibly even tell anybody. I don't even know how many times. So I went for blood work, everything. I had to go for brain MRIs a couple of weeks ago. They told me I had a possibility of having brain tumors. So that was telling somebody with anxiety that you could have possible brain tumors was insane, because I had major dizziness, nauseousness, fatigue. By 12 o'clock, I was shot. So there's all different symptoms that go with it. And all the symptoms that they did for me, all the tests that they were doing for me, were leading back to all different things, just trying to eliminate things. So I went to an ENT doctor, and they did a hearing test, and she came out and showed me a piece of paper, and she said, you're losing hearing in your right ear, and with the dizziness, you could possibly have brain tumors. And I went, what? And I went to go have a brain MRI done. Thank God that all came out good. My CAT scan, they didn't have to make me do a CAT scan because I did the MRI. I did an EKG, that came back good. Blood work came back good. Blood pressure somehow was 120 over 80, which was perfect, and which is insane because I have anxiety. I don't know how that happened. That came back good. Everything came back good. So the bottom line is it's pretty much extreme anxiety disorder. And living with this and in any profession is difficult, but I'm sure there are a ton of real estate agents who have it. And it's very difficult to do even the simplest things. I've learned to kind of, over the last few months, deal with it. It's a lot of mental, but there's more to it than that, because it becomes physical when you have it bad. But even going to show someone a house, go to run an open house, paperwork, anything, it's very difficult. So down the road, somehow I want to kind of create a group for real estate agents who have anxiety. So, for example, I'm having an extremely bad day and I can't even leave the house. That's how bad it is. That I can call up Bob, who's in the group, and say, hey, can you just go show this person the house and work out deals with other agents or something along those lines. It's a debilitating illness, disease. And it's something that a lot more people need to speak about. And at this stage in my life, honestly, maybe 20, 30 years ago, I probably would have had a problem saying I have anxiety because I've done a lot of crazy shit in my life. But now I really, to be quite honest with you, I don't care. If I can help somebody else somehow by explaining what I'm going through and supporting someone somehow, I'm all for it.
Well, you know, it's amazing to have someone such as yourself who has been so successful now after all that success to be able to open up and start to talk about it, because I'm sure there's a younger population as well, especially through COVID. I mean, COVID being as difficult as it was for someone who doesn't have extreme anxiety disorder. I can't even imagine what that would feel like, because now you've got layer, like you said, of just, you know, uncertainty being thrown at you. And with anxiety, it seems as though, and you'll have to speak about it more than I would, obviously, that it would be something that'd be it'd be detrimental to your day to day. So how does extreme anxiety disorder affect? I mean, I know you gave an example already, which is probably on one really side of the spectrum, which is not even be able to get out of the house. But how does it affect you throughout the day? And is there anything that any tips or tricks or anything that you come up with that kind of helps ease the anxiety?
I think everybody has to figure out what you need to do mentally to make that little click go off, where you're not thinking about breathing, you're not thinking about swallowing, that you're actually sitting back and you're doing something else to distract you. I play chess. So I play chess. So I immediately pick up my phone and I start playing a game of chess, and I play rapid chess. So you have to move quick and think quick. So that kind of helps me out sometimes. There are times when you just have to kind of say, listen, I'm not going to die. I'm not having a heart attack. And this is anxiety. And just try to think of something else. Try to think of, for me, I'll try to think of the Mets lineup. Who's playing what position? Anything that will distract you. Thinking of the Islander game, thinking of a play, and thinking of who's playing where people were. Anything that you can do mentally to distract yourself. The best form to help yourself with anxiety is exercise. And I have to get back to doing that. That helps tremendously, exercise. So everybody's got their own little thing that they can do. You have to kind of figure it out, unfortunately. But you have to go to a doctor. You have to get checked out. You have to just clear your head that you don't have a brain tumor, even though this idiot doctor told you I could. Clear your head that you don't have a brain tumor. Clear your head that all your blood work is fine. You don't have cancer. Clear back get your EKG done. Know that you're physically healthy. Once that's aside, now you have to focus on the mental side of this and say, okay, do I have to see a psychiatrist? Do I have to see a psychologist? Do I need some type of medication just to get me over this hump right now? It doesn't mean you're weak because you're taking a medication. You might just need it for a short time. You might have to take something. I've taken, in the last 2 years, they put me on Lexapro, Prozac. They put me on all different meds, and nothing was working for me. And finally, and this is something that people should know, there's a test called a gene site test. A gene site test basically tells you what medications are good for you and what medications are bad for you. So you have to sometimes fail 2 medications before your insurance company will cover it. But the 2 medications that they gave me were on the bad list. So I wasn't even supposed to be taking them. So now they put me on something else. And it's a very mild thing because I don't like taking anything. It's just to hopefully build up in your system over time to balance out your serotonin levels so you become a little less stressed. Little tiny things that people would never think of give you anxiety. Getting a haircut. Believe it or not, as a guy, I spoke to numerous men. My best friend as well. I went to go get a haircut this morning, and it was on my mind. And the reason is that when you sit down in a barber's chair, you can't just get up and leave. When they put your thing on you and they're buzzing your head, when half your head's done, you have an anxiety, you just can't get up and leave and walk out with half a head done. Little tiny things like that, anything that's claustrophobic can cause anxiety. So if you're stuck in traffic, everybody's got different trigger points, but you need to go take care of the physical first, make sure physically you're fine and there's nothing physically wrong with you. And then take care of the mental side, psychiatrist, psychologist, and figure out what's going on.
It sounds like somebody who's dealing with anxiety has to really focus on their health, physically and mentally, more than your average person. Exercise obviously is pretty simple. What are some mental exercises that you think have worked? And I know you've talked a little bit about the distraction during having anxiety at that moment. But what are some mental exercises that you've seen that have helped long term kind of help you deal with anxiety?
Well, long time I haven't figured anything out yet because I'm still dealing with it. So,
right. Well, I mean, I understand that there's probably, I don't want to say it because I don't want to speak to you, but I'd understand, there not being a way to deal with it completely. But are there exercises that help kind of maybe shorten the time period that you have anxiety, or help you kind of, I guess, take that moment and say, hey, all right, I'm going to take whatever I need to do in order to kind of just get through this and get past it?
someone said something to me once, and I can't remember who it was saying, have a cup of, chamomile tea. And I'm saying, listen, when you're sitting here and you think you're about to have a heart attack, chamomile tea is the last thing I'm going to be thinking about drinking, because that's not going to do absolutely anything. And she said, yeah, but a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, and a bunch of different little things might help. And it's true. Drink a little bit, maybe the tea. Do some meditation in the morning, do a little bit of meditation at night, do something physically, like working out, something, if it's just going for a walk for 10 minutes, a little bit of everything might help take your anxiety from a 7 down to a 5. I basically am stuck at around a 2 to 3 right now, all day long. That's where my anxiety level is. I've been at a 10. You don't want to be near me when I'm a 10. It's all different forms. Most of with me it's pretty much paralyzing, where I just can't really move. I'll get extremely dizzy, where it's like everything's just going, whoa, like really strange. My ears get full, my head gets full, almost like you have water in your ears. Your heart's pounding out of your chest. It's a combination of everything. So when somebody says, just relax, just breathe, that's the last thing you could tell somebody who has anxiety, because it's a trigger for you. You get so annoyed because they just don't get it. They don't understand that saying, all right, just relax. And they're trying to help you, but they don't understand that it's got to just run its course in your body. And you have to kind of just get out of it as soon as possible. And it's very, very difficult to do.
So as someone who maybe has a friend or family member who deals with anxiety, what is something that we could do to help someone who's going through, an attack at that moment?
I actually was dealing with my best friend last night, who also suffers it. He's my friend since kindergarten, and we went to a game last night, and me and him are almost like brothers. I mean, I actually was walking 2 steps in front of him, and I just felt it. And I turned around, I said, "You're all right?" And he's like, I'm having really bad anxiety. I just gotta, walk over to the side. I'm like, all right, just relax, whatever you want to do. We could leave, we could do whatever, didn't matter. We got through that little part, and then we were walking down the stairs to our seats, and he was 3 steps in front of me. I knew the exact step when he got anxiety. And he didn't walk any different. I just felt almost like his energy. Mm-hmm. And we walked to our seats, and I said, "Did you get anxiety walking down the stairs?" And he said, "Yeah." I'm like, "I could tell you the exact step you got anxiety on." And then we stood up for the national anthem. And this is how crazy anxiety is. We stood up for the national anthem, and the Islanders were playing Winnipeg. So they had to sing 2 national anthems, the Canadian national anthem and the United States national anthem. And as soon as I stood up, the first thing in my head was, he's going to get anxiety because we have to stand up for 2 songs.
Wow.
It sounds so crazy. And as the national anthems were going on, I saw him going like this, just touching his face. Now, when you know somebody for basically your entire life, you know something's off. So as soon as it ended, I said, you had anxiety during national anthem? He goes, yeah. He goes, as soon as they stood up, I'm like, I can't believe I have to stand up for 2 songs. And I'm like, I knew it. I'm like, I felt it. I knew it. The stupidest things. And it's so aggravating. So only thing that you can do for support is to keep saying to the person, you're right. Do you need anything? Not just breathe. No shit. I got to breathe. I know that. I'm trying to breathe. I can't breathe. There's no air going in. You feel like if you don't go, you have no air going in. You're not breathing, you feel. So you just kind of have to just be there as supportive as possible. Believe it or not, a hand on somebody's back, just saying, you want to do anything, you want to go outside. Yeah, whatever that person wants to do, leave the door open to them. I don't care what you're doing. We just walked into the first period of the hockey game. You want to leave right now? I'll leave right now. I don't care. Just knowing that you have that flight that you'll be able to take off and feel better. And sure enough, as soon as we got in the car on the way home, we left after the second. As soon as we got in the car, you could tell he was just a different person. And I was the one who had anxiety all day long. And then when he had anxiety, my anxiety went away because I was so concentrating on trying to help him that my anxiety went. Wow. Yeah. So you just have to be supportive, but be very leery of what you're saying and your wording when somebody has anxiety, because everybody who has anxiety knows, yes, I know, I have to relax. You're not dying. Yeah, I know that. Don't tell me that though, because I feel like I'm dying.
Wow, it's kind of, it's difficult to understand and even, I guess, put any sort of relationship if you haven't gone through anxiety in that level. Just hearing that standing up for 2 versus 1 national anthem to create anxiety in that level really is I guess it's something that you don't think about, right? If you don't have anxiety, it's not something you ever think about. And that appreciation level, I guess, for having not to deal with that is something that I guess that's really where my brain is at right now. Which is, it's appreciating the small things in life when you don't have to deal with that. It's difficult. I can't imagine how difficult it is. So obviously you're a Mets fan over a Yankees fan, and I'll forgive you for that one. What about thanks. Jets and Giants?
I'm a Jet fan.
Jets fan.
And of course,
as a New Yorker, because I grew up in New Jersey. I think we had this conversation. I was born in Bergen County, New Jersey, from birth till about 18, and I moved to Los Angeles. We always had this thing where the Mets fans were always usually Giants fans, and the New Yorkers were the Mets fans were Jets fans, and the Yankees fans were Giants fans. Is that what's the association there? Why is that the case? I never even thought about that until recently.
So usually if you're a Mets, Jets, and Islander fan, you're a Yankee, Ranger, and Giants fan. The reason behind that is when the Brooklyn Dodgers moved out of Brooklyn, most people from Brooklyn became Met fans when the Mets came in. So when Brooklyn Dodgers left, the Brooklyn Dodger fans, most of them became Met fans. And a lot of people from Brooklyn moved to Long Island. So you got your Islander and your Met base right there. And the Jets used to play at Shea Stadium in Queens.
Right.
So it was that whole kind of connection of Mets, Jets, and Islanders.
Interesting. So there's actually a historical reason as to the whole Jets and Islanders and Mets. I never knew that. That's pretty interesting. What other sports are you into other than baseball?
I'm a diehard Islander fan. I'm a season ticket holder for the Islanders, and that's my favorite sport by far is hockey. So that's, believe it or not, also a very good distraction for you too. Sports, if you have anxiety, something to keep your mind off something. You're going to be watching a game for 2.5 hours to try to focus on that and just try to clear your head. So sports to me is a very big outlet for me.
Growing up, I mean, was childhood a lot more difficult than should have been?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, like I said, back in the day when you would have anxiety, they would just say you were a nervous kid. I hated school with a passion. I
Mm,
hated anything that I had to do in church, communion, confession. I would be sick for weeks in advance. And all my
right.
pictures, I'd be white as a ghost because I would just be like petrified of anything that I had to be in church, confession, where you're stuck in this room and then there's other people looking at you, anything like that. So, getting through school was very difficult. I was always sick, but I got through school, obviously. And then I had different careers. It's just crazy. Me and him were even saying last night. It's so aggravating because, you know, like I said, I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, and now I have to go get a haircut. I'm getting nervous, and it's like, where does this come from? So it was always a struggle growing up. But I did everything I had to do, but it was just the school part of it. When school ended, the summer was the greatest time of my life. Every year, from kindergarten to high school, that was the best time because I didn't have to worry about school. Um, and then different things in your life happen, and you don't have it at all for years, and then it'll come back, and then it goes away, and it was difficult though growing up. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry to hear that, and it's as much of a challenge as I'm sure childhood was, it obviously had built character into you, and they helped you become the person that you are. Because I mean, Joe, from what I see, you really are someone to look up to. I'm having to deal with what you're dealing with, and still not letting it affect you in the sense of limiting you and restricting you from doing the things that you love and the things that you want to do. Is truly inspiring. So thank you for taking the time, and thank you for putting yourself out there, and hopefully there are people who see this, who have anxiety, and get inspiration from that, and turn around and maybe decide to go get help if they haven't been helped in the past.
Thank you. I appreciate what you said. I really do appreciate your words. And if anybody's out there and you just have any questions, feel free to always give me a call. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Hopefully I can help you and maybe steer you in the right direction.
Amazing. As far as real estate space, let's get to that, because that's the fun. I mean, the obviously the anxiety, and we want to talk about that, which is truly important. And that's something that you brought to me, which is again goes to speak to how willing vulnerable you're willing to be to put yourself out there. Tell me a little about the team. How did you get this team started? Because you only really got into real estate space recently. So how did you so quickly transition from getting your real estate license to becoming a team leader of an extremely successful organization out in Long Island?
What happened was Keller Williams has an amazing coaching program, which is one of the key reasons why I joined Keller Williams. And when you first come in, you have the option to join a coaching program. And there's all different structures how they have it, where you get trained and everything else, and they work with you for the first few deals. And I realized after, this just a very, very, very short time in the coaching program that I could do this. I can train people myself. I have, 30 years of experience doing sales and telephone work and everything else. And I went to them and I said, listen, I want to be able to start my own team. I know who I want, and I think I could make a team work. And they gave me that chance. And different people came to me. I guess they saw what I was doing in real estate, and they asked to join the team. And that was it. We started growing.
That's awesome. So as far as coaching, what are some things that you've identified that real estate agents should really start to hone in on skill-wise? Having worked with newer agents, what are some of the coaching skills that you implement when you first bring on an agent?
So it all goes back to when I was a financial advisor, stockbroker, and I used to train people. The pitch that you need to know is pretty much a straight line pitch. And I teach the straight line pitch. And I could do a whole segment on that. But you need to have a few things in your gun. You need to have a few bullets that you need to focus on. Listen, you might not like to do social media. You might not like to get in front of a camera and make videos. You might not like to cold call. You might not like to door knock. But these are all essential parts of building your business. Anybody who tells you, people think that becoming a real estate agent is easy. It's very, very difficult. It's fun. You laugh because it's true.
Yeah.
And coming into this industry, I realized what it takes to really build your business up. And you have to have a little bit of everything, a little skill in everything. You need to know the market. You need to know and ask the right questions to your clients. And you need to build that rapport with them and build a relationship with them. It takes time, as you know, to get yourself out there and where people know who you are. I do a podcast, as you know, the Joe and Keara Show, where I do it with Keara from RCG Mortgage. And we do real estate. We talk about all that, and we cover mortgages. So I'm covering that area on social media. I think I have enough exposure on the big boys, which is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So getting yourself out there that way, because you never know who's watching, who might just see something. Somebody might see this and say, hey, Joe seems like a nice guy. Let me give him a call. How can I help you? Oh, I'm selling my $12 million house. You don't know who you're talking to on the phone. So you need to take care of the social media part. You need to have some skill on the phone. You need to hear yourself. You need to record yourself. You need to have somebody train you the right way of what to say, what not to say. Certain words you don't want to say on a phone to anybody in any type of sales. You need to get yourself out in your neighborhood. You need to just hand out flyers. Just go to a local place, make up 50 flyers and just put them on everybody's door on your block. I was never a fan of that. I always felt like if somebody's knocking on my door, they're begging for business. And they can't be that big of a real estate agent. I had door hangers made up. And I said, what happened was somebody was selling a house on my block. And it was not me who was selling the house. And it just pissed me off. And I said, I'm just going to do this. Just go on my block. And I made up 100 door hangers, whatever. And I went down. And by the time I got back to my house, I made 3 connections on my block.
Beautiful.
Just on my block.
Beautiful.
People said, you live down the block? Yeah, I never met you before, whatever. We started talking. Somebody had to sell a house. Their daughter needed an apartment. The guy across the street, he was looking to move out of his apartment and find a house. So little things like that all add up. And you need to just, like I said, just build up as much as possible and realize it's going to take time. It's going to take time. 2 things I can suggest to people and mistakes that I made. Do not spend a lot of money in the beginning on advertising. Do not do that, because you'll go broke, because you're still learning the business and people know that, they can hear it in you. And I spent a lot of money on advertising my first year. Now, thank God I had some experience where I can handle it, but I know a lot of people who spent a ton of money. Now I cut back on all my advertising. I cut back on all my advertising, and my thing is I like to call expireds. That's my thing. So everybody needs to find out what they like.
With our sales team, we obviously invest a tremendous amount of marketing in what we do. The first month of your sales career with us, you don't get any leads from the company. It's all outbound cold calling, and building your skill set of, like you said, recording your calls, listening to your calls. And I wish in the real estate industry, more people understood real estate agents. And the reason that I laughed with real estate isn't easy is there isn't enough old school sales training in the real estate industry. And agents, for some reason, think that, hey, my neighbor, like you said, you had that neighbor who closed that transaction. If that guy can do it, then I should be able to do it. I should be able to walk out of my house and say, give me listings, and listing agreements are going to fly out of the sky. And real estate agents do not realize how much work goes into starting a real estate brand. That's what you're doing. You're the CEO of your own business. If you don't go out, you don't put in the effort, nobody's going to do it for you. And I love the fact that you actually work on phone skills with your agents, because that's something that's not done enough. And then obviously, as an online lead platform that we have, and Alpha goes online leads, most agents think the referral skills that I have, being able to take on a referral from, my mother's friend or a friend of mine, translate to picking up the phone and being able to call someone for the first time. And it just doesn't work. It's not.
No, it doesn't. And I
I
watched all these different real estate agents on YouTube and everything else, from Tom Ferry to all of them. And there's a lot of them out there that I just literally just laugh at. And I say, you got to be kidding me, because you're calling somebody in Tennessee, and no offense to people in Tennessee, but you're just calling somebody in Tennessee who's sitting on their balcony, who's waiting to see a car drive by and will talk to anybody, compared to calling somebody in New York, that when you get somebody on the phone in New York, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you, I'm too busy, what do you have to say? Get off the phone. So you have to know how to pitch different areas. I train people where if you could pitch me and get through a pitch with me, you're good. Because I'll hammer you and hammer you and hammer you until I know you're ready to get it going, and you're able to get on the phone where you're confident enough that, listen, I just got through the pitch with Joe, I'm good. Because I'll make sure that when I get somebody on the phone, there's two ways somebody's getting off the phone with me. There's only two ways. I could care less if it's real estate, if it's stocks, if you're selling vacuum cleaners. Somebody's getting off the phone with me only one of two ways. Either I'm closing the deal with them, or they're hanging up on me. That's it. I don't want to hear, I'm calling you back, I have to talk to this person, call me back tomorrow. You know the deal. You're from New York, you're from New Jersey. Nobody's calling you back.
Sorry, let me run this by my dog before I decide to make a decision on it.
Exactly. So there's a point where you be professional and you're nice, but there's a point where you have to use some common sense. Yeah. If somebody's saying no to you, no to you, no to you, okay, let me call you back. That's not happening. So the way I train people is a little different. And I think we have pretty good success with that, to be quite honest with you.
That's awesome. You touched on social media. How important is social media becoming to the real estate industry?
Social media is the most important part of being a real estate agent. And if you're not on social media and you're not taking advantage of it, you're just doing yourself a huge injustice. Everybody needs to know that you're a real estate agent. They need to know so much that you're in their face that it becomes annoying. But when they're going to buy or sell a house, guess whose name is going to pop up first in their head?
Yeah.
Joe.
Joe, what's the minimum for social media? Because I mean, look, you've got agents who they do TikTok, and they do the YouTube shorts, and they're putting out 3, 4, 5 videos a day, and they're active. But when it comes to like you said, the big platforms, you've got Facebook, you've got YouTube. Even YouTube, some might say, look, unless I'm doing podcasts or blogs, what am I going to put on YouTube? But what's like a good starting point for an agent who wants just to get into social media to use that for marketing?
Instagram, and build a Facebook group, build a Facebook page. Those are the two that you have to be on immediately. Instagram and a Facebook page. You need to have your sphere of influence, all your friends, your family, everybody on Facebook immediately know that you're involved with real estate. I never thought when I got into this industry, I was going to get anybody from anybody I know. I was going to get any business from anybody I know. And sure enough, I have. I gotten quite a few deals already from family and friends. So that is the most important thing, is to get on Facebook, tell everybody that you know, get on your Instagram page. When you're going to a house, even if you're going to show a house to somebody, take a picture. Let people know that you're out there working. Let people know that you're a real estate agent and you're doing this. One thing I could say to people, and everybody says, if you're going to be involved in real estate, you have to do it full time. Yeah, that's all nice and swell, but full time being a real estate agent in the beginning doesn't pay my rent. So this business becomes extremely stressful if you have no source of revenue coming in.
Right.
So I would suggest make sure that you have income coming in. If it's from another job, do something in the beginning in your career, even if it's rentals, because you get paid, as you know, on rentals very quickly, where you can bang out 1, 2 rentals a month. You're still bringing home a couple of thousand, hopefully. And then build your business up to where you can do this full time. Have another stream of revenue coming in. Have different areas where you have other businesses somehow, maybe, hopefully, where something's coming in to pay your bills. You don't want to go into this and think, oh, I'm just going to become a real estate agent and I'm going to sell a house and make $15,000. Well, guess what? That ain't happening. And you need to go out, get that person, find a house, then they have to close on the house. Then you have to hope that it closes. There's as you know, and most people know, a billion things that can go wrong. So never count on that deal closing, that one deal to pay your bills. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yep. Again, there's the starting in the real estate. Real estate is absolutely wonderful. I think it's one of the most fulfilling industries, better known as a real estate agent, fulfilling jobs to be in. You're helping someone secure their financial nest egg on probably the largest and most emotionally baggage heavy purchase they're ever going to make in their life, right? And if you help them make the right move, that could be fruitful for them 5 years from now. The property goes up 20-30%. Guess what? They just made a really good investment. But getting started in the real estate space is probably one of the most difficult industries I think that you could start in. I myself have never been a real estate agent, but having worked with agents and having seen it through their eyes, the amount of patience and the amount of empathy that you have as a real estate agent is absolutely phenomenal. And I always look up to agents who find a way to be successful in this industry, because there's so much being thrown at you in such a short period of time that you have to deal with. So, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but having to deal with it with anxiety, I mean, that's a whole nother, next level, as they call it in today's day and age. So, kudos for you for really honestly being able to brand yourself and not let this anxiety hold you back from doing what you love and being so successful in the ways that you have. So any last words, Joe, for any of the listeners who are out there, for anything that we talked about, any last pieces of advice that you can give them?
Well, if you're a real estate agent, you have to now just buckle down and work 10 times harder. There's no inventory. Interest rates are up. You really have to take whatever game you have and bring it to a different level. Just think that this is, fourth and long. And right now you need a Hail Mary pass, because this is what it's coming down to. Because there's really, it's a very, very difficult time as a real estate agent to generate a lot of business. Like I said, the inventory is low and interest rates are high. So if you're a real estate agent, buckle down, because I think in the next 6 months, you're going to see this industry have a huge decline in number of real estate agents. And the guys who are left standing are going to be holding and making a lot of money. But you got to get through this little time right now. If you're a buyer, you're a seller, everybody always waits. Everybody says, I'm waiting for interest rates to drop. I'm waiting for the house's price to drop. And I said it on, I think, my last podcast. If you see a house out there that you like and you think that the house is going to drop $20,000, $10,000, if everybody knew which way this market was going to go, everybody'd be a billionaire. Buy the house, refinance if your interest rates are too high, refinance down the road if you could get a little bit lower, and make a move. Because owning real estate right now is a key. So grab your property. If you're going to have a huge house, you need to downsize, do it now. Sell your house. Nassau and Suffolk County has been dropping about $5,000 a month on the cost of a house, price of a house, the median price, since July. It's dropped $5,000 every month. Right now, January, February, it's starting to even out a little bit. Might go up a little bit, might go down a little bit. Now's the time. So buy, sell, do what you have to do. Call me. Love to talk to you. Love to sell your house for you.
Awesome. Joe, honestly, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and being so open about talking about the difficulties that you go through. Not everybody's going to do that. So I really appreciate you being out here, and keep up the awesome work that you're doing in the Long Island area, and hopefully we'll see you and get to connect with you again soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.